The smell of roasting meat hung in the air. Musa stood by a street grill, enjoying his skewer. The smoky aroma always made his mouth water. But tonight felt strange. Somewhere nearby, a faint scream broke the night. Musa froze mid-bite. The sound was quick, like someone silenced it. He looked around, but no one else reacted. The store owner, an old woman with a scar on her cheek, grabbed his wrist. Her fingers were icy. "Eat," she said softly. "Fresh meat. Very fresh." Musa hesitated, staring at the grill. The meat was oddly shaped, chunks of different sizes. No wings, no ribs, just pieces. The smell was too sweet, almost sickly. "Where's this meat from?" Musa asked, his voice shaking. The old woman didn't answer. She smiled, revealing sharp yellow teeth, and handed him another skewer. That's when Musa saw something glinting in the ashes, a bracelet with a small heart-shaped pendant. His stomach turned. "I'm done," he mumbled, stepping back. A tall man with hollow eyes blocked him. "Don't waste food," the man said, his voice unnaturally deep. The scream came again, louder. The old woman turned toward it, grinning. "They are bringing more," she whispered. Musa didn't wait. He ran, the smell chasing him even into his apartment. Locking the door, he heard a knock. "Musa," a voice called. It was the old woman. How did she know his name? Musa sat frozen in his room, the knock echoing in his ears. "Musa," the old woman called again, her voice chilling. He didn't answer. His heart raced as he crept to the window. The street was empty, unusually quiet for this time of night. Another knock came, louder. "You forgot your food," she said. Musa's breath quickened. How did she know where he lived? The smell hit him again, that sweet, smoky scent. It wasn't outside. It was inside. He gagged and ran to the kitchen. His trash can, empty earlier, was now full of charred scraps of meat. The door thudded hard. Musa jumped. The knocks turned frantic, pounding like a drumbeat. "Open up," the old woman yelled, her calm voice now harsh. He fumbled for his phone, but it wouldn't turn on. His lights flickered, leaving the room dark for seconds at a time. Then came silence. The knocking stopped. Musa pressed his ear to the door, hearing nothing but his own breath. He exhaled, his body relaxing. Then the smell of smoke returned. Slowly, he turned. In the corner of the room stood the tall man with sunken eyes. His grin stretched unnaturally wide. "You can't waste food, Musa," he said. Musa screamed as the man stepped forward, his shadow stretching across the walls like a monster. Musa bolted for the door, his breath catching in his throat. The man's shadow twisted unnaturally, stretching across the room. He stumbled into the hallway, the air heavy with smoke. Behind him, the man's voice echoed, cold and deliberate. "You can't run." Musa sprinted down the stairs, heart pounding, and burst onto the street. It was empty. The stalls were gone, replaced by fog curling around his feet. He ran, the smoky smell clinging to his skin. The streets felt strange, unfamiliar. Musa spotted a small shop with its lights on and dashed inside. The shopkeeper, an old man with hollow eyes, looked up. "Lost?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Someone's after me," Musa gasped. The shopkeeper's gaze sharpened. "You ate at her stall, didn't you?" Musa froze. "How do you know?" The man pointed to a mirror. Musa turned and gasped. His reflection was covered in ash, his hands streaked with black. Behind him, shadows shifted. "They've marked you," the shopkeeper whispered. "Once you eat, they never stop." A loud crash came from the back of the shop. Musa turned toward the sound, his heart racing. The tall man's voice rumbled from the darkness. "You can't escape, Musa." The smell of smoke grew stronger as the lights flickered. Musa's heart raced as he backed into the corner of the shop. The tall man's voice echoed, filling the room. "You cannot run from the past, Musa." The shopkeeper grabbed his arm. "Listen to me. They've marked you. Once you taste the meat, it's too late. They'll follow you, hunt you down." Musa's mind spun. Who are they? What do they want? The shopkeeper's eyes darkened. "It's not what they want. It's what you've taken. That meat is cursed. She feeds it to you, and it binds you. You belong to them now." The door creaked. Musa turned, his breath caught in his throat. A shadow moved in the doorway. The man stepped inside, his eyes glinting with hunger. "You can't escape, Musa. You've eaten. Now, you'll pay." Musa's knees shook. He turned to the shopkeeper. "Help me." The man looked at him, his expression cold. "There's nothing I can do now. It's too late." Musa bolted toward the back door, but the man was too quick. He grabbed Musa by the arm, his grip tight and unrelenting. "You belong to the shadows now," the man whispered. "You always will." Musa screamed as the shopkeeper's shadow grew larger, swallowing the light. Musa fought against the tall man's grip, but it was like trying to break free from stone. His breath came in short, panicked gasps as the man's cold fingers tightened around his wrist. "You're not escaping," the man hissed. "You're already marked." Musa's heart raced. "What do you mean?" His voice trembled. The man smiled, a sickening grin that stretched too wide. "The curse takes time. It will follow you everywhere, until you belong completely. You're already halfway there." Suddenly, the lights flickered, casting the room in eerie shadows. Musa's skin crawled. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to stretch toward him, moving on their own. He yanked his arm free and ran for the door, but the fog outside had thickened, filling the street like a living thing. He couldn't see anything. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of burnt meat. The tall man was gone, but Musa knew he wasn't alone. A strange, prickling sensation crawled over his skin. He could feel eyes on him, watching from the dark. "Musa," a voice whispered, just above a breath. He spun around, but no one was there. The fog thickened, closing in around him. Musa ran blindly, but no matter how far he went, the fog followed. Musa opened his eyes to darkness, his body cold and heavy. The air smelled of rot and decay, thick with a damp, earthy stench. His limbs felt numb, as if the fog had seeped into his very bones. The voice from before whispered, "Welcome home, Musa." He tried to move, but his body refused. Panic surged in him. Where was he? What had happened? A figure appeared before him, a shadow in the shape of a woman. "You're not alone," she said, her voice distant and hollow. Musa blinked, trying to focus. The woman was dressed in tattered rags, her face pale and gaunt. "They were once like you," she whispered, pointing to the shadows around them. "The ones who ate from the store. They are part of the hunger now. They always will be." Musa's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean? What's happening to me?" The woman stepped closer, her face contorting in agony. "You've joined the cursed. You can never leave. You'll hunger for what you've taken, forever." Suddenly, a deep growl echoed through the darkness. The shadows around them shifted, and Musa could feel eyes watching him, hungry eyes. "They are here," the woman said, backing away. "They won't stop. Not until you feed them." Musa turned, his body trembling. The hunger inside him began to grow. Musa's heart raced as the growl echoed louder, a low, rumbling sound that made his blood freeze. The shadows around him shifted, drawing closer. He could feel the hunger, a gnawing emptiness deep within him. "They are coming," the woman whispered, her voice trembling. Musa's body shook with fear. He tried to move, but his legs felt like they were trapped in cement. He reached out, his hand brushing against the cold, damp ground. The growl grew louder, followed by a chorus of other voices, each more guttural than the last. They were closing in, surrounding him. "You have to feed them," the woman said, her eyes wide with terror. "It's the only way to stop them." Musa felt sick. He didn't want to feed whatever these things were. But the hunger inside him was unbearable, growing stronger with every passing second. Then, a shape moved in the darkness. He saw eyes, glowing, yellow eyes, staring at him. The creatures were getting closer. "No!" Musa screamed. "I won't." But the hunger inside him was too strong. It clawed at his chest, demanding to be fed. He reached for the shadows, desperate, knowing that once he fed, he would never be free. The creatures circled, waiting for him to make the choice. The hunger within him unbearable. The creatures circled, their eyes glowing in the darkness, waiting for him to make his choice. He could feel the weight of their hunger pressing down on him. The woman's voice echoed in his mind, "Feed them, or become one of them." But Musa couldn't do it. He refused to give in. The shadows shifted, their forms growing larger. The growls turned into snarls, sharp and menacing. They wanted him, needed him to surrender. Musa closed his eyes, blocking out the images of the creatures around him. He focused on the only thing he had left, his will to resist. "I won't feed you," he whispered, his voice shaking but firm. "I won't become like you." The shadows paused. The air was thick with tension, and for a moment, Musa thought he might be free. But then, the woman's voice returned, softer now. "You've already fed, Musa. You've already taken the curse. You can never escape it." The creatures closed in, their eyes filled with hunger. Musa screamed, feeling the darkness consume him. And in that moment, he knew he had lost. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, or you might never ever hear my amazing stories again. Make sure you like and share for more.